We've got a hurricane headed our way. Hours till Hurricane Matthew, and Publix is just about sold out of water. So I just finished our Publix run for our first hurricane really that we're gonna have. Our last one was Hurricane Sandy, which, you know, we were way up a river. So just hit up Publix and got us lots of soda, crackers, chips, cookies, junk food, you know, like the zebra cakes, tons of soda, and like 2 or 3 gallons of water. So just gonna bring these back to the boat and we're gonna sit and snack for a few days, I guess. So we're in Indiantown Marina right now, which is in Martin County, Florida. We're still about 28 miles up the coast from Stuart, but we do have a hurricane coming our way, and so
Hurricane Matthew.
Hurricane Matthew.
Which I'm sure you've seen on the news.
Different from my Matthew, which causes a totally different kind of destruction.
So we're all set up. We've got the straps down on the boat. We've got everything cleaned up, all the shrapnel that could be flying around. We've cleaned up the wood chunks and so on. Strapped down the just basically everything is cleaned up now.
And our mast, which was already off the boat, was sitting on jack stands, but just because we might get bugs.
Yeah.
In addition to bugs, it's predicted that we could get winds up to 70 miles an hour, so we just had some help from neighbors and we took our mast from the jack stands and just laid it on the ground next to the boat, so at least we don't have to worry about that knocking over in the middle of the night.
And we're clean. We're in an area that is kind of a higher elevation for Florida, so we shouldn't have any surge or anything. We are up past the locks. So when those are closed, we won't have any surge coming up here, which usually is the biggest problem with a hurricane coming through. Most of the damage to boats are from that. So we're just going to hunker down, and you know, we're in a big giant tin can, kind of a tank. So in case anything happens, we'll be fine. You know, we'll go roll with the punches, and if we roll over, we roll over.
We're probably about 24 hours away from really kind of getting the strong winds or anything associated with the hurricane. Tomorrow morning we're supposed to start getting winds in the 20-mile-an-hour range, but I want to say in the early afternoon they start going up to the 30s and 40s.
If you're on Florida's East Coast, you should know now where you will go if you have to evacuate. If you think there's any chance you're going to have to evacuate, don't wait until you lose power to figure out where you're going to go.
We've got a bunch of snacks ready. We've got beer. I'm already 2 beers in, so feeling a little loopy at this point.
Cheers.
We've got a pee bucket, so in case we can't leave the boat. We got a bunch of water stacked up. We've got things charging right now, so in case we're desperate for something to do, we can read books.
We may have slightly overestimated the amount of work it actually takes to prepare a boat for a hurricane. We gave ourselves all of today, a full day before Hurricane Matthew is supposed to come, to get things ready, and it turns out by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, we had done pretty much everything that we didn't want to wait until just before the hurricane comes, because it can stand to be out for another day or so, you know, before we get it put away, just before all of the strong stuff comes. So we've kind of been wandering the docks, watching all of the big power boats come in. We heard friends just up the river in Stuart say that all of the big power boats usually evacuate during any kind of hurricane. So it looks like a lot of them have come up the river here. They're getting hauled out, put into our parking lot, because I think that's the only place big enough to hold all of these big power boats. So we've just been kind of like watching, I don't want to say the chaos, it's all controlled, but just watching all of the movement and the excitement happen here. Matt's also been helping a lot of the single-handers get their boats ready, you know, get themselves tied off properly, get any sails and canvas down, help the single-handers come up and tie up to the docks if they're not getting hauled out. So that's kind of what we've been up to the first day of hurricane preparation. So we'll just have to see what tomorrow holds. Today has actually been a little anticlimactic for us so far. We woke up this morning with what we thought were going to be winds at least in the 30-mile-an-hour range and just progressively getting worse through the day, but it's actually kind of been just like our normal days in the work yard with on and off rain. So about 1 p.m. right now, Hurricane Matthew is supposed to be coming around midnight tonight, closest to landfall we're going to get, and these winds you can kind of hear picking up behind me are the first we've had all day, so we've kind of been twiddling our thumbs as we finish up last minute preparations. It looks like everybody is starting to kind of evacuate, maybe go to shelters or just head west if they're planning to do that, but really there's been no excitement so far, so we'll just have to keep you updated through the rest of the afternoon and see how the storm goes. I've been coming down trying to find out where the hurricane party is starting, if there is one, and it looks like everybody's tucked away for the day, so I guess I'll just go back and enjoy a nap on the boat and wait for the storm to come. I think I found the storm starting behind us, so I better get back before I get rained on. The sun is about ready to get set on us at Indiantown. It's just about 7 o'clock p.m. on Thursday night. We haven't had any of the bad weather yet, but the Weather Channel and all the news stations keep saying it's about to come here any minute. Rain bands, gusts of winds, winds jumping up to like 60 miles an hour from these gusts of 20 that we're seeing right now. So we'll have to take a look when the sun rises in the morning and see how much of this looks the same and what kind of damage Matthew did to us overnight. It turned out that, like most visitors to South Florida, Hurricane Matthew decided to give a little skip on visiting Indiantown. What happened overnight?
Basically, there was a lot of sitting there in anticipation, watching the TV. Typical news thing where you get all psyched up, thinking that something's going to happen. Kept checking the weather. Basically, that's all that was on TV at that time. We were watching movies and trying to keep entertained, doing other things, but more was just looking out the windows and waiting for the wind to blow. And so as the night progressed, they kept saying the countdown of, and at 6 o'clock we're going to get 70-mile-an-hour winds, and then they pushed it back to 8 o'clock, then 9, and just kept getting less strength and further out. Until finally we started to hear a few little gusts rustling through the trees behind us, but there wasn't much happening at all. Jess got tired of watching TV and got tired of watching movies, so she went to bed at around 1, I think, and I just kept sticking my head outside and looking out there. Finally I saw the other boaters wandering around, so I went and talked to one for a little bit at about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's maybe 20-knot winds. There was a little bit more in the upper heights, 100+ feet. You could see the rain kind of getting blown off, but where we were sitting is almost a little bit of a bowl, and we had trees around us, so on the ground or on the deck, we couldn't feel anything. There was nothing happening whatsoever. At that point, went to bed. Expecting that there's still going to be something coming. Maybe it was going to be a little bit delayed. So I just kept one ear open, and as the night progressed through, nothing was really going on, and so went into finally a deep sleep. Woke up around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Then woke Jess up, and we went and wandered around to see if there's any damage. Got down there, down to the front area, where all the action is usually. Got down there and there was nothing. There was Jess posted a photo of a tree with a Christmas lights wrapped around it, a branch that fell down. Beyond that, there was nothing. We didn't really get much rain. We got much worse weather during the summer, during the hour thunderstorms that would come rolling through than what we actually saw during this. Now I know we were extremely lucky. A little bit further north, they got hit with really bad weather. There's a lot of boats that fell over. Twice now we've been lucky with hurricanes. Hurricane Sandy was the same way. We really had no effects with that. Same thing that we're seeing with this. So we've been lucky, but basically when you spend all your time getting everything ready is when nothing actually happens, which is a good thing. So we felt good with that.
Here's to surviving Hurricane Matthew.
To the non-storm we got here in Indiantown. As we drink hurricanes. Cheers!
Oh, I drink already. Oh no!
How could you? Before you
That's
fell.
a curse. We're gonna have
Matt, you've had about a half of a hurricane so far. How are you feeling?
Warm in my face. Yeah.
Then it was back to boat work as usual, where we started our next project of adding 1/4-inch maple to our cabin sole. Would you like to tell everyone what we're working on today?
Alright, today is another cabin sole day. What basically we're doing, right now we're doing kind of an easier one. It's more of a square hatch up against one area that kind of curves a little bit. So we got 3 sides that are square, one little curve, which is just going to be a little trim job, not a big deal at all. And all we're doing is we're just framing it out first. So with the piece of 3/4-inch plywood, we had a place in Fort Lauderdale mill this maple down to 3 inches wide by 1/4 inch thick. So we'll end up with a 1-inch total sole. We do have fairly large spacing in between the supports, so we needed to go with a bit thicker for more strength so it doesn't bow down in the middle. What you can see here is we've laid the one straight edge that's going to run flush with this side. This is the forward side, the back side, so we're just laying these out square, making sure they all fit right. And then we'll just lay this piece across here. We'll trim it later to fit, and then it's just fill in the blank. So starting from this side, we'll work our pieces over with 3-inch. Once this is all set and screwed into place, then we will epoxy coat this multiple times, the lower part. Then the next part, we're gluing it in with epoxy. We're sticking with epoxy glue because since these are going to be epoxy coated, as is the top, we wanted to make sure that we keep the same bonding material across, all the way across. So we're going to do the glue with a bit of epoxy and colloidal silica, really thin. Helps prevent warping a little bit, as do the thin top boards too. If you go too thick, you go to 3/4 inch, a lot of times you're going to end up getting cupping and warping then.
You know what's awesome? Cooking dinner in a galley without a floor.
Oh, you like that?
I love it. It's like American Ninja Warrior for the homemaker. So I know I didn't get to show all of the footage I wanted to when we were putting together the floors, but one of the last things that you want when your hands are full of epoxy is dealing with the camera. So here is the end product of our floors, going from basically the pilot house forward. You can see the regular plywood right down here that we're building on top of and going forward. This is the maple, the 1/4-inch maple we've added on top of it. So this is after one coat of the clear epoxy that we added. It needs at least 2 weeks to set, so we really can't touch or do anything with it right now until that's done, but later it's got rounds of sanding and more coats of varnish. But here's what it looks like so far. Very happy with the results. Here is our galley, Georgie's food bowl, and one of my favorite parts of the boat are controls for the freezer and fridge you can see there. Still have to be little touch-ups here and there. You can see like this odd aluminum pole sticking out. We're gonna have to do something to cover that later, probably with cherry. But these are our floors overall. Here is a shot into our V-berth. I know the lighting's kind of bad, I apologize, it's a bit in the afternoon, but what you can see is some of the finished pieces of varnish we did, including the hatch that we showed you in the last episode. So here it is installed in the V-berth. This is probably about the best camera angle I can get right now with the kind of lens that we have, but overall I think it looks really great. Coming up next on the video, we're going to take a few minutes, or maybe 10, and go over some of the most commonly questions we were asked about our last episode in YouTube comments. So if you're not really interested in the technical boat building part of it, which a lot of them had to do with, then you can just click off now. We won't hold it against you for not watching the rest of the episode. Otherwise, hang on for just a minute and we'll get to a few of the most popular questions that we were asked. Hello everyone, we want to say thank you so much for all of the support and positive comments we've gotten from you on our first video that we just uploaded the other week. We're just blown away by everybody that liked it, commented on it, subscribed, you know, gave us some good vibes of everything that we're doing here. Stupid word, I know. And actually there was a lot of comments about the project that we realized we may have not fully answered in the video itself, or that came up.
The video that we posted up wasn't really a how-to, and it wasn't us going over really well what we did. One person said like it felt like a This Old House episode or something like that, and that wasn't really what we were going for.
But we're new at this.
And so we're learning. And
so we figured what might be a good thing to do is we'll try and start explaining everything more step by step, or give more of a kind of documentary on each project as we do it. But if we miss things, feel free to leave a comment, and then in the next episode we'll try and go back and answer it if we haven't gotten back to you on YouTube itself, or if a comment comes up a lot of times, such as a few of these have. So then we'll address them at the end of episodes in what might be a new Q&A section.
Yeah,
so
yeah, we figured that'd be kind of a fun, at least at the beginning, until
you guys get sick of it.
Until you guys get sick of it, or we get sick of it.
Until you get sick of it.
Whatever happens first, we don't know.
Oh, on to the questions before we make this a 20-minute segment in itself.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I'll go with one of the first ones. Not really a question, more of a comment that's been brought up a few times, and since this segment's now coming at the end of an episode, before you all start to comment, a microphone. Yes, we know that it is necessary. We actually did purchase one before we started this video series. Turns out it's not compatible with our camera.
Yeah, and we use a Sony NEX5, which has great visuals, but unfortunately it doesn't have a input for a microphone at 3.5.
Yeah, I really should have researched that before I got it.
Yeah, you probably should have. But Sony does offer one, but it gets horrible reviews. We may purchase it anyway, just to give it a shot before the next step really is to buy a different camera, and we all know how expensive that is.
So we're working on that. We know about it. It just might be a few more episodes before you see anything implemented with the microphone. So we'll just try and speak up in the meantime.
Yeah, if not, just turn up your volume.
Next question, we got a lot about varnish and epoxy for our hatches that we were working on in the last episode.
Oh, I didn't know that was for the hatches.
Yeah.
We decided to go with the epoxy. We weren't planning on it originally. Everything else that we've done has been multiple layers of varnish. Epiphany's varnish, which has been great. Our biggest issue was in areas that we know from cruising before will get wet. And varnish does a great job. but we wanted that additional support of knowing that there's a great base layer. And quite frankly, when I purchased it, when I originally bought the epoxy, it wasn't with the intent of doing the hatches or some of the other stuff that we did. I purchased it more for the cabin sole. We were doing maple for the cabin sole, which is not a rot resistant typical marine wood. We like the looks of it. We like the cost of it, which is a big part of it. It's a light wood. We wanted something that looked very light, but we knew that we really needed to protect it. And so we got a clear UV inhibitors, basically are in this epoxy. It's made for surfboards, or what most people use it for. So it is made to be left out in the sun and so on.
Yep. And we don't have any outside teak or wood, so we're not worried about UV damage there.
We do have, for the cockpit seats, will be wood. Originally I was planning on using a foam composite core fiberglass and making the seats out of that, but then started thinking about it and drainage and a bunch of other reasons. We decided to go with wood again, more of a traditional seating surface. And so we ended up getting Kumru for that, but that's going to be left raw. That's not going to be oiled, it's not going to be anything, so it'll be allowed to gray and weather, and then that'll match the gray of the rest of the boat.
Exactly. Which actually brings us to the next question. A lot of people asked, why the aluminum boat? What made you buy aluminum?
A lot of it was because we hadn't had one before. A lot of it was where we were planning on going. We made it to the Azores. Aluminum boats everywhere, talking to people. We figured that we would actually prefer to do that. I don't do well in hot weather. I really don't like heat that much. And I wanted to see snow. I wanted to see glaciers and that kind of stuff. And I finally talked her into it. And she got on board with that, at least for a short duration, for a year or two. And
a summer.
Yep, a summer or two. So we figured what we'll do is we'll get an aluminum boat, and a lot of it was I needed a project. I needed something to do. Now I didn't plan on this much of a project, but I needed something, and a majority of my free time was spent reading books on boat design and on different things, and so really it was just to be able to use those things that I had learned, at least to give it a shot, see what we got there, learn as much as I can about boat building and try to figure out the ins and outs of it as much as I can. And so it sounded something that would be interesting to me, and so we wanted to get something different to try that, because serendipity was just about perfect for us, at least, was just about perfect, and so we wanted a good base to start with, and so we figured aluminum boat at this point, and this one popped up, so we snatched it up. Of course, it's going to do well, or should do well, in the ice. And another part too was the fact that everything's most of the stuff is welded on deck, so there's no drips, leaks. Hopefully no leaks, except for the hatch is still good, but hopefully no leaks, and just the rigidity of it too. You can step on deck and it's just a complete different feel versus what a fiberglass boat feels like. It was something that it felt solid and felt right to us, and we wanted to try it.
So here we are, 18 months later.
Well, you can edit this out, but we originally, we were looking at one time we were looking at buying a trimaran in Guatemala, a high-speed, crisp white designed trimaran. Give that a try. It was like cars. I think the longest I ever owned a car was like 2 years or 2.5 years or something like that. I always like to switch them, and always had
something new.
One or more cars. There's always something else. Grass is always greener type thing. So I thought we'd give it a try, and that's how we learn, is to try different things and see what we like. And yeah. So that's my reason for aluminum.
There you go, aluminum. And then last question we'll answer in this episode is, when do you think you'll be in the water and traveling again? And the answer, never.
Never.
We're never leaving here. Never.
No. It's every project. As anyone that's ever worked on a boat, a house, doesn't matter what it is, it takes 3 times longer than what you anticipate. New things pop up constantly. We're already going through and redoing things that we had done the first time, and things are changing, plans are changing, so on and so forth. So we'd love to be in the water before the beginning of next year. I don't know.
I think we should at least be in the water right around the new year, hopefully just after, and we'll be doing projects in the water for just a little bit too.
Yeah. And then we'll do a shakedown and then do more projects, because I'm sure something else is going to pop up that we didn't plan. So bear with us for the next couple of months as we're going through this. Please enjoy, or at least bookmark it, and come back in a couple of months.
Come back when we're
actually traveling again. We'll try to keep this late and at least somewhat entertaining through the tedious parts, and kind of go from there.
Yeah. So hopefully those answered a few lingering questions. Again, let us know if you have any further ones. We'll try and get to them in the next episode.
These were just the most common questions. These were the things that we saw pop up.
And we're also sorry if you put a question and we haven't gotten back yet. It's been a crazy week with boat work itself, and then getting online every night is we're trying.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Entertaining. Yeah, that's it.
So until next time.